Caffeine. Gotta love caffeine, especially Google caffeine. Fucking idiot. Gosh, I love caffeine. Especially Google caffeine. Okay, I just did a test about 10 minutes ago on Google caffeine indexing, because we've had a lot of interest from last week's show about how quickly Google caffeine is indexing. Anyway, so I did a post, timed it, took 4 minutes, but then I have a theory which I want to test now, so I'm just going to go ahead and test it. Google speed indexing test part 2. I'm calling it part 2 because I've already done part 1. Now the good thing would be is if you spell your keywords right, and that if Mighty Mouse doesn't totally screw with your navigation. Let's try that again. Come on, WordPress. Now what we're seeing here isn't a problem of WordPress, it's a problem of Firefox and my mouse. Okay, so let's try that again. Google speed indexing test part 2. Okay. Just completed a speed test on indexing, but it took over 4 minutes. This time I will view the post as soon as published to see if that helps with indexing speed. Now, it's something that, what happened was last time I did the post, published it, went to Google, but I didn't actually go and view the post in a live environment. And then when I went and viewed it, went back to Google, all of a sudden it was available. So what I want to do here is get a control group of a browser happening as well. So we get a browser that I'm not actually logged into, which for this purposes will be Google Chrome. And we're going to go to google.com.au. And I'll do the test here first. So Google speed indexing test part 2 is what we want, isn't it? That's what we called it. Google speed indexing test part 2. Great, we'll go pages from Australia. Now if I just take this bit out here, you'll see the one I prepared earlier, which is that one there. Okay. So now we have to get our timer ready. I'm going to reset that. I'm going to go back over to Firefox and just quickly explain a couple of things about what we're doing here. Just going to save that draft, come back to it. Okay, now with a WordPress install, by default, what you type in here will appear as a H1. Well, certainly the theme I'm using anyway. And on most themes, it'll appear as a H1. Now, I know a lot of people saying, oh, H1s don't work, wanker. Possibly. However, it's good document control to have H1 at the top of the page, so I'm going to keep doing it. If you're putting a H1 at the top of the page and it's in 6-point font and everything else is bigger, yeah, it's probably not a good idea. Or if you're putting a H1 at the top of the page just to stick an image in it to get a H1 there, okay, well that's not going to help much either. But if you want to have a heading at the top of your page, you may as well have it as a H1. Anyway, enough said on H1s. That phrase will also appear in the page title because of this particular install that I'm using, and it will also appear in the URL because of the way that I'm setting up with permalinks, and also, and I'll show you how I'm setting up with permalinks in a second, but I just show the one thing that WordPress does that is different to most other content management systems. This update services, this rpc.pingomatic.com, that's what WordPress install alerts when you post a new article, and it alerts a whole bunch of different services, and then at that point Google Caffeine knows there's something going on and it comes on out. The other thing that that I'm doing here is I'm trying to keep things as simple as possible on this site, and because it's just easier if you keep things simple, it just becomes easier to manage and know what's going wrong if something's going wrong, or if you want to get something ranked, there's less things that you have to worry about, less variables. So all I'm doing here with the permalinks, it's just really, and this is the URLs that we're talking about here, this is the URLs, how they'll be displayed, and there's a whole variety of things that you can do. What I do is I'm just using what they call the custom structure, and basically what this means is that whatever the name of the post is, it's just going to be jimboot.com/name of the post. Keep it simple, right? Okay, so now back to the posts. Google Speed Indexing Test Part 2. And I'm just going to add category of SEO, and I'm just going to add some tags, Google Caffeine. Now, the tags don't necessarily add to your SEO ability, but it's more about good, easy navigation for users, and it doesn't hurt to have good linking throughout the site with keywords in them. Okay, that's all I need to do. So what I'm going to do this time though is I'm going to start the timer, and I'm going to go and view the post as soon as it's published. So I'm starting the timer now, and now I'm publishing. Now this will get automatically tweeted out. That's not a big deal. Didn't hit publish properly then. That's not a big deal as far as Google coming out. It is a big deal as far as people discovering your article though. Okay, now we're going to view the post, and then we're going to go across to Google Chrome, and we're going to do Google Speed Indexing Test Part 2. Nothing there yet. So I don't really think that viewing of the post helped necessarily, because it's still not there. Just making sure of Google Speed Indexing Test Part 2. Yes, that's right. So before it happened in 4 minutes, and let's see the timer. Oh, I've only been going 1 minute so far, so, but still nothing. So, and look, the speed is going to vary. The indexing speed is going to vary depending on, how many things have been published at once, capacity, all those sorts of things. Bandwidth to your server from wherever the Googlebot's coming from. So a whole variety of things. But certainly viewing the post doesn't seem to make one little bit of difference. So what I'm going to do here is just do Google Speed Indexing Test. Whoops. Part 2. We'll just do part 1. Show the one we prepared earlier. Okay, Google Speed Indexing Test Part 2. Okay, there now. So where are we at? 2:15. And there it is there too. So about 2 minutes. So a little bit quicker that time. But I've had a lot of questions about it, so hopefully that helps you. A lot of people are saying, I'd be happy to get indexed within a week, let alone a minute. So there you go. That's how you do it in under 3 minutes anyway.